Okay, I want to read another well-written piece by Carl Denninger because I have to give credit where credit's due. But notice he is a dirtbag. Look at the Saturn logo here, and he exposes it himself in one sentence in this article later on, which we'll get to in just a minute. But I've covered what he's saying. That's why I want to read it because I've been saying it in a few videos recently, and it's about the orchestrated and planned migration quote unquote crisis that's happening over in Europe right now. It's just a full-on invasion, and I've showed before that it's the same routes they're using the Crusades that they're using now. And while you can't really rely on what the news says because it's all paid propaganda, we do have history as a guide. We have seen this before, and there are way too many reports corroborating the same story. Okay, this is a full-blown invasion. You can research Islam. They don't lose. Okay, what those guys do is they conquer slowly. They play the the underdog where oh they're being picked on and this and that. They play the victim and then boom, that's how they work. And so all this stuff is corroborated by many different reports and history altogether. But these refugees aren't. Some of them are, but the majority of them are not war refugees because war refugees trend female, very young children and very old men. But these refugees are the exact polar opposite of that demographic profile. They trend male and of fighting age. They are also not healthy first world people. Many have communicable diseases and they're all concentrating in relatively small areas. This has the potential to be a health disaster of unprecedented size and scope in the developed world. Isn't that funny too? Because the same politicians that are pushing for these guys, let them in, are saying we need to vaccinate our children. If it ended there, it would be bad enough, but it doesn't and it won't. If these people are allowed to stay, they are the demographic anchors for the remainder that did not come. These are the women and children who will immediately migrate if the men are allowed to stay, and they will do what men and women do once they are together. In other words, they will create a population explosion. Virtually none, and I do mean none, of these people have any intention of assimilating into the cultures where they migrated to. They have every intention of planting their culture in these places and demographically guaranteeing its survival. And here you go, exposing how he's part of it. These are not stupid people, but the governments and people in these nations are stupid. You have to be ridiculously naive to think that the government doesn't know what it's doing. These government corporations, they know history just like we do, and they're doing the exact same things all over again because they are the ones orchestrating it. But anyway, the governments are stupid, and they believe these are refugees for the most part. But they are not. They are an invading army that requires no guns, as they've been invited in exactly as the Greeks were in Troy, except they don't have to hide inside a wooden horse. How are the people of Europe going to stop it if they haven't stopped it by now? Good question. But they had better stop it because if they don't, what is considered Western civilization in Europe is about to end. First by disease and pestilence, and then by revolution from the inside. Europe is finished within a decade if they don't put a cork in this now, and we're not far behind. There is a point beyond which a literal civil war will be the only way to reverse the trend. The reports of Germany on the brink of civil war, Sweden, all these countries over there on the brink because of this going down right now. Nobody in their right mind wants that to happen. The only other alternative will be to submit to a caliphate. This isn't conspiracy theory, folks. It's arithmetic. It's funny when you think about this, right? Four horsemen of the apocalypse, traditionally named war, famine, and pestilence, and death. In hindsight, I tell you what, when you look at this stuff, it makes a lot of sense. So I guess time will tell. Pretty crazy, man. It's all this. I mean, it's the same routes. I mean, it's ridiculous. But be a bunch of thumbs down on this video and a bunch of people saying that this all conspiracy and Islamophobia and all this kind of stuff, which I can't wait for. So bring it on. I guess time will tell who's right and who's wrong about this, huh? It's gotten worse since it started, so gee, I wonder how it's going to turn out. Thank you to my subscribers.